very small, and they're surrounded by Muslim countries, Arabs. And so, and the thing is, what happened on Saturday is that the terror group Hamas a coordinated attacked Israel, and out of no provocation, Israel hadn't done anything as far as we know except out of the norm, but thousands of terrorists attacked Israel by the sea, by land, and by the air. There was even doing gliders, and they were shooting people at festivals. And so I think the death toll now of the Israeli people that have died in Israel from the attack is like anywhere between 1,500 people and 2,000. And what they did is they broke the borders, they went into Israeli country, and they kidnapped a lot of people. So about 1,500 to 2,000 people have died, Israelis, and also about 27 to 3,000 people have been shot or injured at that. But not just that, I just saw some clips that they just went into a place that the Hamas had taken a lot of the captives, and they found like 40 dead babies, decapitated. They're raping the women, disemboweling, they're breaking the women's bones, they're killing everybody in the worst ways. And these are not soldiers. They took soldiers too, but most of them are civilians like you and me. And so they just wanted, so Israel, after they attacked, so then Israel started attacking the Gaza Strip and firing, because I think the last thing on that day, about close to 3,000 rockets were fired from the Gaza Strip into Israel. And now I think it's up to 5,000 rockets have been fired on, and they're landing all over Israel. They can't stop them all. And so then Israel has declared war on Hamas because they attacked them. But the Bible says to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, of Israel. So why is a lot of people don't know in the hostility where all this came from. So today, I'm gonna explain to you where this hostility comes from and how back it goes. It actually goes back almost 4,000 years, this hostility between the Arabs and the Jewish people. So hopefully you are ready to learn, because I'm going to give you some material. This is like Bible school material. This is like, I was looking through this, and so I don't know if you want to write this stuff down, but if you don't get everything, it'll be on Facebook. And it'll be there later on. You can send it. But this is something that you need to know, because it also has to do with the last days, Revelation. It has to do with the end times. So we're going to start in Genesis. Genesis chapter 12. So, does anybody know who Abram is? Abram. If you know who Abram is, raise your hand. Do you know who Abram is? Does anybody know another name for Abram? It's Abraham. That's right. That's a trick question. And does anybody know who Sarai is? Does anybody know another name for Sarai? Sarah. It's Sarah. So when I say Abram, we're talking about Abraham. So in Genesis 12, this first time Abram comes into that we start talking about it. Verse 1, we're going to read verses 1, 2, and 3. It says this, and God is saying this to Abram, which is Abraham. Now the Lord said to Abram, get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you, and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. And in all your families, all the earth shall be blessed. So here, in Genesis 12, 1, 2, and 3, God blesses Abram. Later on is Abraham, and Sarai, his wife, also becomes Sarah. Later on, God changes Abram's name from Abram to Abraham and Sarai to Sarah, which is very important because do y'all know what the name Sarah means in Hebrew? I'm going to tell you. It means princess. And that's God's name for Sarah, Abram's wife, Abraham. So here, the Bible says very important. Very important. Those who bless you, they will be blessed. And here, verse 3, it says, those who curse you, they will be cursed by God. Right? Isn't that what we just read? I'll read it again. And I will bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. There you go. I will bless you, and I will curse the people that curse you. So the United States, to keep with Israel as an ally, is prominent. It's paramount. It is so important that we stay supporting Israel. Because God's, even though that was like 4,000 years ago, that oath or that promise that God made to Abram, that blessing, it still holds up today. Because Abram became Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his 12 sons, and then became Israel, the people of Israel. And so, and you know what one of the biggest Israel populations besides Israel, where it is? New York, United States, Baltimore. We have a huge Israeli Jewish population in the United States, which I am glad. A lot of people don't know that, but a lot of Jewish people live in the United States. So everybody understand about the blessings, that God bless Abram. Okay. So now, I want you to turn, so that was 12. I want you to go to chapter 16. So we have established God's blessings on Abraham. So now we're going to be talking about how can God bless Abram unless you have children, right? You got to have children. So Abraham was about in his 70s, give or take, when he was starting to get this. So now we're going to be talking about that God's going to bless his children. So Genesis chapter 16, verse 1. Everybody there? 16, verse 1. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children. So she was no kids. And she had an Egyptian maidservant, okay? Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. Remember her name, Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, "See now, the Lord has restrained me from bearing children. Please go into my maid, perhaps you shall obtain children by her." And Abram heeded the voice of Sarai. Then Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband, Abram, to be his wife. And Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan. So he went in to Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress became despised in her eyes. So, let's just stop right there. So Sarai, Abram's wife. Abram only had one wife, Sarai, right? And Sarai, even though they had tried to have children, she was barren. She hadn't had any children yet. And they tried, and they tried, and they tried. So she had a servant, a maid, a slave, an Egyptian woman, young probably beautiful, hardworking. Her name was Hagar. And he says, well, and this is what they used to do. I can't have children, but this is my handmaid. This is my maid. I want you to take her. And I want so that you can have children through her. It's interesting, right? What woman would want to do that? I mean, she was desperate because he wanted Abram to have children. And so God had blessed Abram. We had just read it. But you can't receive that blessing unless your children follow it. And so far, he's old. Sarah's old. But my servant, an Egyptian, this young lady, she's young. So say, take her, go have intercourse with her. And but before you do that, you have to marry her. So he gave, so Sarai gave her maidservant over to Abram to be his wife. Now remember, just like chickens, there's a pecking order. You understand that? There's some that are in the pecking order. That means those that, that I think we already dismissed for the youth. Yeah. You could try. You could try. Yes. So in the pecking order, Sarai was the woman in charge, regardless. So then Abram now has two wives, Sarai and Hagar. But the one that he loves and cares for and is the number one wife is Sarai, right? But he now also goes and has intercourse with his new wife, Hagar, and guess what? She gets pregnant right off the bat and has a son named Ishmael. But once she got pregnant and had the baby, guess what happened to Sarai? She got jealous. Why? Because she gave him something that she couldn't. Everybody understand that so far? It gets even deeper from that. Okay. So now we're going to go, verse 5. Then Sarai said to Abram, her husband, my wrong be upon you. I gave my babe into your embrace, and when she saw that she was conceived, I became despised in her eyes. The Lord judged between you and me. So Abram said to Sarai, his wife, indeed your maid is in your hands. Do to her as you please. And when Sarai dealt harshly with her, she fled from her presence. So all of a sudden, Sarai dealt harshly so bad that Hagar ran away. So she probably maybe whipped her, belted her, beat her, I don't know. But it said that she dealt harshly with her. And so all of a sudden Hagar, being pregnant, ran away because remember, Abram was very rich, very powerful. God already was blessing him. They had a lot of servants, and so she had a lot of rule, Remember, and so she took off. But remember, she was married now, and her blessing, God blessed it. Oh, your seed will be blessed, and that also means Ishmael. So verse 8. Verse 7. Now the angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring of the way of Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, where have you come from, and where are you going? She said, I am fleeing from the presence of my mistress, Sarai. Then the angel of the Lord said to her, now, by the way, who is the angel of the Lord? Okay, as far as we know, I believe in my studies that's Jesus. Okay, so the angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hand. Then the angel of the Lord said to her, I will multiply your descendants. So here, the angel of the Lord, in behalf of God, is giving now Hagar and promising her these blessings. He said, the angel of the Lord said to her, I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, so that they shall not be counted for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, behold, you are with child. So she's pregnant. And you shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. So, Ishmael means that God hears, El Roi. Okay? So here, she's telling him, go back, and I'm going to multiply your seed. Why? Because that's Abraham's child. his firstborn. 12. And he said, he shall be a wild, now he's saying Ishmael, when he is born, you're going to call him Ishmael. He's going to be a boy, and he will be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man. Everybody listen to this. There will be a wild man, and his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Then she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees. For she said, have I also seen him? Verse 14. Therefore the we'll stop right there. 15. So Hagar bore Abram a son. And Abram named his son, who Hagar bore, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. So he was either 85 or 86, Abraham. So when Ishmael was finally born, Abram was 86. Can you imagine that? 86 years old. And he finally had his first son. Did you hear about that? Where he says, all of a sudden the angel of the Lord is prophesying to Hagar about Ishmael. Well, first of all, you're pregnant. That's one. 2, it's going to be a boy. 3, you will call him Ishmael. 4 is that his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand will be against him. That means there's a lot of conflict with a race that he's going to be bearing, and it's going to be a multitude of people, a lot of people. By the way, this is part of the Arabs, the Muslims of today. You know, like I talked to you about Turkey, Syria, Iran, Iraq, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. These are the people that we're talking about, okay? This is also part of Hamas, the terrorist group. Let's keep going with this. So I want you to now go, we're going to skip a little bit, and we're going to go to Genesis chapter 17. So Ishmael has now grown, okay? And Ishmael is now about 13 years old, and Sarah is about 90, and Abraham is now close to 100 years old, believe it or not, and still no children. But didn't God bless him and say, hey, you will have a lot of children? I guess it will be through Ishmael. So we thought. So in Genesis 17, verse 1, it says this. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be blameless, talking to Abram. And I will make my covenant between me and you and multiply you exceedingly. Just like what we talked about, like he already had blessed them, Genesis 12, and now basically he's, in Genesis 17, he's repeating that blessing again. Verse 4. As for me, behold, my covenant with you, and you shall be a father of many nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram. So now here, God's going to change Abram's name to another name. But you shall be called Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations. Okay? Which sounds contradictory because he only has one son. All right? But here God is, the Lord himself is telling Abram, I'm changing your name now, and your name is now Abraham, because you'll be a father of many nations. Verse 6, I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make your nations, the nations of you, and kings shall come from you. Okay, so that is an important place right there. It says, you're going to be very blessed, very rich. Many nations will come from you, and you will also have kings come from your bloodline. Kings. And who are those kings? Well, King Saul, King David, King Solomon, and the most important king of Israel is who? Jesus, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And Jesus actually comes from the line of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So kings will come from him. All right. So let's see. Verse 8. Also, I will give to you, your descendants after you, the land in which you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan. And by the way, the land of Canaan, that's where Israel is at the moment, as an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. Verse 9. And God said to Abraham, as for you, you shall keep my covenant, and you and your descendants after you throughout these generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you, and your descendants after you. Every male child among you shall be circumcised. Does everybody know what circumcision means? If you don't know what circumcision means, raise your hand. Okay. One little girl doesn't know what that means. I think mom can explain that to you later in a few years. So everybody knows. So from that point on, where all Jewish boys are circumcised, and some people too. So this is where circumcision started from. Because when you cut the foreskin of that part, guess what happens? You bleed. It's a blood covenant. Everybody understand that? It's a blood covenant between God and man. Interesting. Okay. And it's also a part to where what? The seed gets put out, or where pregnancy comes from. And so it's a blessing. If you look into it, it's actually quite remarkable. Let's see. 10. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you. Oh, verse 11. And you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be the sign of your covenant between me and you. He who is 8 days old among you shall be circumcised, every male child in generations. He who is born in this house and is bought of the money and the forder, the descendants. He who is born of you. So basically he's saying that, Abraham, you're 99 years old now. You have to be circumcised too. So Abraham, at the age of almost 100, was circumcised. His son, 13-year-old Ishmael, circumcised. All his servants, slaves, everyone that was under his household, what it might have been hundreds or thousands, every male has to be circumcised from that point on. And unto this day, they're still doing the circumcision. And there's a reason for it too, by the way. But that's for a later date. Verse 19. Then God said, no, Sarah your wife shall bear you a son. Okay, how old is Sarah now? 90 years old. And here God is saying, your 90-year-old grandma, Sarah, is going to have a baby. Oh, it's 90 years old. And you shall call his name Isaac. So now there's a word. I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his descendants after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him. He shall beget 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac from Sarah shall bear to you at the said time next year. Now, first of all, let me just tell you, Sarai, I don't know if you all know this, but back then brothers and sisters would marry. And Sarai, which then became Sarah, he was actually his half-sister. Everybody understand that? So I think they had the same father, but different mothers. So Abram married his half-sister, Sarai, a beautiful woman. But he also was married to Hagar, which is what? An Egyptian woman. Okay? Part of the world. And now God had blessed Ishmael. Why? Because he came from Abraham's seed. He was part of Abraham. But it says, but my covenant is not with Ishmael. I have blessed Ishmael already, and he will be a great nation. And haven't you ever seen the Saudi Arabia? Have you seen how those Arabs are so rich? Have you seen that? so wealthy. In the Iraq, they're just full of oil, and I mean, they're blessed. And you're going to name him Isaac. And my covenant, not a blessing, my covenant will be with that son of yours, the second one, the second-born. But he's the one that I'm going to establish my covenant with, which is very important, and that's who we are, Israel. So this is going to be Isaac. So let's see what happens with Abraham and Sarai. 22. He finished talking to him, and God went up from Abraham. So Abraham took Ishmael, his son, all who were born into his house, and all who were bought with his money, and every male among Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh. Basically, let's go to 24. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh, and Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised. 26. And that same day, Abraham was circumcised, and Ishmael, and all the men of his house. So everybody understand that? Okay. So now the blessing, Ishmael is blessed, his firstborn. So now Abram is Abram, and God changes Sarai's name from Sarai now to Sarah, which means princess, because there's going to be kings born to him. Now we're going to go to 25. I'm sorry, chapter 25, if you would turn there. Am I losing anybody, or does anybody have a question so far? All right, okay. Now this is the genealogy of Isaac, okay? That's Sarah's firstborn. Abraham's son. Abram begot Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as wife. So now he's grown up, he's 40 years old, and took Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel and Syrian, of the sister of Laban and Syria. 21. Now Isaac pleaded with the Lord for his wife because she was barren. So now Isaac is married to Rebekah, but his wife can't have children, like his mom. All right, for some reason, just like his mom. So he pleaded. Now Isaac pleaded with the Lord with his wife because she was barren. And the Lord granted his plea. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. So God heard Isaac's prayer. But the children struggled together within her. And she said, "If all is well, why am I like this?" So she went to inquire the Lord. So all of a sudden, she's pregnant. Remember, they don't have sonograms at that time. But there was a lot of movement inside her stomach, and it was not a good pregnancy for her. So then they prayed. 23. And this is the Lord's response. And the Lord said to her, to who? Rebekah. 2 nations are in your womb. So that means you're going to have twins. Okay? 2 nations are in your womb. 2 people shall be separated from your body. 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. Everybody understand? The older shall serve the younger. So when her days were fulfilled for her to give birth, indeed there were twins in her womb. And the first one came out. Remember, they always know which one comes out because they're the firstborn, even if we're twins or not. So the first one came out red. All right, so the first one was very red skin. He was like a hairy garment all over. So he was red and he was very hairy all over. Wow. Okay. All over. So they called his name Esau. Afterwards, his brother came out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when he bore them. So let me just say, Rebekah couldn't have children because she was barren, just like Isaac's mom, Sarah. So now Rebecca, so Isaac and Rebecca now prayed, and the Lord responded. Well, why am I having a problem? Why my stomach's always moving? Why am I hurting? Well, because they're twins in there, and they're fighting. They were fighting inside her womb. One of them came out very red and hairy, very strong. He's the first one that came out. And then all of a sudden, then Jacob comes out. But when they pulled out the first one, which was who? Esau. Okay, it's Esau and Jacob. So they named him Esau because he was hairy and red. And when they pulled out the first one, and then the last thing that comes out was the foot, all of a sudden they couldn't, because all of a sudden out of Rebecca, there was a hand holding on to this foot of the other twin. So Jacob was holding on to his twin brother's foot. Interesting. So that's why they named him Jacob, which means supplanter, or another name, deceiver. You got to remember that. Words and names are very important in the Jewish culture. They named him Esau because he was hairy and red, and they named Jacob because he was a supplanter, a deceiver, okay, and was still getting a hold of his brother. Now, when it came to going back now to Abraham, when he had two sons, Ishmael, his firstborn, and then he had Isaac 13 years later. Where did the blessing go to, first of all? Who got the blessing, the covenant of God? The firstborn or the secondborn? The secondborn. And usually it's supposed to be the firstborn. But no, God said, I'm going to establish my covenant with Sarah and you through that line, and it's going to be through Isaac, which is very interesting, because now Isaac's grown up, found a beautiful woman, Rebecca, from his family line, and he had twins. And so who do you think is going to get the blessing? Well, Isaac's going to want to get the blessing to his firstborn, which is Esau. So now remember, we're talking about the Arab and the Muslim countries right now. And why am I talking about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Because you got to understand this. Let's see. What verse was I on? The Genesis, Isaac. Okay. Esau's. Okay, so 26. After his brother came out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, so his name was called Jacob. Isaac, and Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. Okay, so Isaac was 60 when she had Esau and Jacob. 27. So the boys grew. So now they're grown up. And Esau was a skillful hunter. Remember, he was the red, hairy firstborn. And it said that he was a skillful hunter. That means he was a wild man. All right. He was a man. He was good with a bow, with a spear. Trapping. 28. Skillful hunter, a man of the field, but Jacob was a mild man, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So here are two brothers, twins. One's red, hairy, strong, muscles, and he would see something and he'd kill it. And he loved his father, and he would take the kill, a deer, an antelope, whatever it was, and he would bring it to his father. And guess what? Who is the man's man? A father is like, this is my boy. So Isaac loved Esau. But Jacob was more of a mild man, more of a passive. He dwelt in the tents. So basically what that tells me, he's more lighter skinned. He's more of an intelligent being. It doesn't say he's a hunter. He dwelt in the, that means he studied the stars. He studied he learned how to read and write, and he was very smart educationally. He was more, maybe even a little bit more feminine, maybe than his brother Esau, because his mother would take care of him. Now the mom loved both of them, but her favorite was Jacob, and the dad's Isaac was Esau, the hunter, the man's man. So the mom and dad had their favorites, which is not good to have, but it's pointed out for a reason. So let's keep going here. 29. Now Jacob, let's see, let's go 180 game. Okay, 29. Now Jacob cooked a stew. Remember, they're old already. And Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. So you're out in the field hunting and working, and you didn't get a kill. You're hungry. You're hot. You're thirsty. And you're about to faint and die. You know what I'm saying? He was in that he was like weak. Remember, Jacob's very smart. He's married to me as of this day. So now, basically, he knew he was going to be, his twin brother was going to come back, and it was not a good day. He made a red stew, a beautiful stew, smelled really good. He's tired. He's about to die. He's thirsty, and he's hungry. And so Jacob says, give me some of my brother Isaac. Jacob, give me some stew. I'm so thirsty. I'm so hungry. And he says, and he's eating it. Tell you what, I'll give you the stew, but give me your birthright. Because that tells me, and you know what? I'm not the firstborn. My brother is actually a year older than I am, a year and 1 month. And throughout my whole life, he's always, you know what? I'm the firstborn. I'm the older one. I get first of everything. You get my leftovers. Throughout my whole life, he always told me, I'm the firstborn. You're the second. All the time. So if that happened to me, can you imagine as a twin, and he's stronger, he's a man, and he knows that his father is the one that loves, that's his favorite. And the father always blesses the firstborn, which was Esau, his favorite. So at that moment, Jacob gets smart. Remember, he's smart. He says, sell me your birthright. I'm going to die. Sell it to me. You can have my stew as much of it as you want. Look, so what is my birthright? If I die, it means nothing if I die. So yeah, what is it? My birthright? I don't care. Here, I swear, I give you my birthright. Here, now give me the stew, quick. And so he takes the stew and gives him his birthright. Now who's listening? God. God's listening. Over a stew. Over the flesh. You know what I'm saying? The lust of the flesh. So 23, then Jacob said, swear to me this day. So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob over a stew. And Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils. Then he ate and drank, arose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. All right. So he sold his birthright. So what is left? So he swore it over stew and lentils and bread, just so that he could eat. Right? But still, you have to have the blessing of the father, which is from Isaac. He sold his birthright from his brother. That means he was born, so now, just because he was born, he turned it over to him, his birthright. Remember, you can either bless or curse. Blessings or curses come from your mouth. Be careful what you say. And he said, okay, I swear, I give you my birthright. I was born first, but now I give that to you. Now you have the right to claim the blessing from our Father. Very smart. But yet now, Isaac has to bless him. But he doesn't want to. So now we go to another chapter. I want you to skip over to Genesis 27. Everybody there? All right. Remember, this all has to do with Hamas, the Arabs, the Muslims, and the Jewish people. This is we're getting to that. Now, verse 1. Now it came to pass when Isaac was old. So now Isaac, Abraham already died. Isaac is now getting old, and he's getting ready to die. So when a man is about to die, guess what he does? He passes on the blessings. Abraham, Isaac, and Isaac then, he was going to give it to Esau. So we thought. And his eyes were so dim, that means he was getting blind, that he could not see, that he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, my son. He didn't call Jacob, he called Esau. And he answered him, here I am, Esau. Then he said, behold, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now therefore, please take your weapons, your quiver, your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. That means go get me my favorite elk or deer or whatever. I want you to go kill me one last time something and fix me something. Verse 4. And make me a savory food, so as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may be so that my soul may bless you before I die. So before I die, son, go and kill me my favorite animal, and make me the most beautiful stew. And when I finish the stew that you've made me, I want to bless you, son. I love you. I'm so proud of you. I'm ready to give my anointing. So then I will be happy and I'll die. So from Abraham to Isaac, and Isaac then to go to Esau. So Esau thought. Verse 5. Now Rebekah, Esau, and Jacob's mom, heard through the tent. She was listening. You call that metiche in Spanish, right? Yes. Wow, y'all don't like that word, okay. She was listening in. What do you call that? Verse 5. Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to Esau, his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt game and to bring it. So Rebekah spoke to Jacob, her son, saying, indeed, I heard your father speak to Esau, your brother, saying, bring me game and make savory food for me, that I may eat and bless you in the presence of the Lord before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to what I command you. Go now to the flock and bring me from the 2 choice goats, and I will make savory food from them for your father, such as he loves. Then you shall take it to your father, and he may eat, that he may bless you before his death. So the mom, Rebekah, which is a mom to Esau and to Jacob, but Jacob's her son, her favorite son. And the one that's very loving to her, the one that always cares for her, you know. So it says, now, Esau's going to go hunt and kill something, but I know what your father likes. I know how he likes his tortillas. I know how he likes his beans, his fajitas. I'm going to cook him a very good meal from the best meat of the best goats, and I'm going to cook it just well, and I'm going to give it to you so that you can give it to your father, Jacob, and that he will bless you instead of Esau. All right? So we're playing favorites here. It gets deeper. 11. And Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, look, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. I have no hair, just like look at my arms. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem like a deceiver, because his name is Deceiver, Jacob, a surplanter of him. And I will bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. But his mother said to him, let your curse be on me, my son, only obey my voice and go get them for me. And he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made a savory food such as his father loved. Okay. Then Rebekah took the choice clothes of her elder son Esau, all right, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her son. And she put a skin of the kids on the goats of his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. Then she gave the savory food of the bread and the bread which she prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. So Esau might be blind, but he can still feel. And if you touch my skin, I have no hair on my skin. And I've touched some people that have like gorilla arms, right? And Esau was hairy, it was very hairy here and here. And his clothes smelled a certain way. So Rebekah went and got the best clothes of Esau, put it on his son because he has his smell, and then got the skin. This is telling you how hairy. Have you ever felt a goat, how hairy they are? So he got the skin of the goats and put it on his arms and on his neck. So when the dad would feel it, he says, oh, that is you. You're very hairy. Okay, that's you. And over here, and when he would smell him, embrace him, he's like, oh, okay, you smell like the wild. You smell like you've been outside. It had that scent. So Rebekah was very smart. And she got the deceitfulness probably from his mother, Rebekah. So you understand how this is happening, right? And once again, the mom's always into it, okay? She's going to get her way. Verse 18. So he went to his father and said, my father. And he said, here I am. Who are you? Because his voice is different. My son? Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done just as you told me. Please arise, sit and eat at my game, that your soul may bless me. 20. But Isaac said to his son, so he's questioning, you know what? You don't sound like Esau. How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, because the Lord your God brought it to me. So how did you find the kill so quickly? He didn't lie. There was kids there. God brought them. God made them. So he was being truthful, but deceiving. 21. Isaac said to Jacob, please come here. He's still not questioning that this is his son. That I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not. So Jacob went near Isaac, his father, and he felt him and said, your voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. All right. 23. And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hand, so he blessed him. All right. 24. Then he said, are you really my son Esau? He said, I am. But once again, remember the birthright that he sold? Okay. 25. He said, bring it near me, that I will eat my son's game, so that my soul may bless you. So he brought it near him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, come near now and kiss me, my son. Still, after all this, you sound like Jacob, but man, you feel like my son. You gave the food, everything is. But so after he was filled and drank with wine, like, come over here and give me a kiss. He wanted to smell him. And he said, come near now and kiss me, my son. And when he came near, he kissed him, and he smelled of his clothing, and blessed him, and said, surely the smell of my son is like the smell of the field which the Lord has blessed. So all of a sudden, he cooked the meal. He knows the thing. He said the words. He felt him. But one last sentence, like he kissed him and grabbed him, like, and smelled his clothes, smelled him, said, yeah, you smell wild because my other son Jacob, he's the man of the tent. He probably has perfume and colognes, and you smell like the wild. You smell like animals out there, okay? So you are my son. All right. So now Isaac is convinced. Therefore, my God, 28, therefore, my God, give you of the dew of heaven, of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down before you. Be master over your brethren, and let your mother's son bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be those who bless you. Remember how he blessed Abraham? Now he's passing that blessing unto who? Jacob. So now you can only bless one blessing on one. Just like Isaac was the second born, now Jacob being the second born, he received the blessing too. All right. And now, so he got the blessing that God gave to Abraham, Isaac, and now it has been bestowed on Jacob, which he thought he was Esau. So verse 30 now. Now it happened as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob has scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. So we're going to skip a little bit. So here, Isaac finally went and killed, made a stew. He's been struggling all day, but while he was there, his mom and his twin brother, Jacob, were being deceitful to his father. And he blessed Jacob's birthright. And now, not just like he sold his birthright, but now he got the anointing and the blessings of Abraham, Isaac, and now to Jacob. And you can't, once you bless, you can't take it back. Once it's done, it's done. So now Esau comes back and tells his brother, oh, I brought you the stew. What do you think Esau is going to feel like? All right. So now verse 30. Now it happened as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob scarcely gone out of the presence of Isaac, and Esau his brother came in from the hunting. He also had made him a savory food and brought it to his father, and said to his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that your soul may be blessed. Puzzled. Isaac is puzzled now. And his father Isaac said to him, who are you? Remember, he's blind. And he said, I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. Then Isaac trembled exceedingly and said, who? Where is the one who hunted game and brought it to me, and I ate of it before you came, and I have blessed him, and indeed he shall be blessed. Then Esau heard the words of his father. He cried with an exceedingly great bitter cry, and said to his father, bless me also, my father. But he said, your brother came with deceit and has taken away your blessings. And Esau said, is he your rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted, that means deceived, me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and now he also has taken away my blessings. So birthright and blessings, very important. And he said, have you not reserved a blessing for me? Then Isaac answered and said to Esau, indeed, I gave him your master, and all his brethren I have given to him as servants. With grain and wine I have sustained him. What shall I now for you, my son? And Esau said to his father, have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me, O father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said to him, behold, your dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and the dew of the heavens above. By the sword, now listen to verse 40. By your sword you shall live. You shall serve your brother, and it shall come to pass when he becomes restless that you shall break his yoke and from your neck. 41. So Esau hated Jacob because the blessings of which his father blessed him. And Esau said to his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. So, at this point, he stole his, deceived him from his birthright. With what? From a soup and bread and water. And then he stole his blessings from what? A meal again. And by the flesh of the goats he felt and the smell of the wildness, he stole the blessings and the birthright. And once it's done, it's done. And what were the last words of of Esau? When my father dies, I will mourn for him. Then I will go and I will kill my brother for what he has done. But what were the blessings? What was the blessing that Isaac gave to Jacob? You will live by the sword, and your brother will be the master over you. Later on, we're not going to read everything, but you can continue reading. Now, what has happened from here, so Esau was very mad. And he already was married, and he wanted to marry more women. But the women that were there were foreigners. They were heathens. They worshiped other gods and all that, which was displeasing to Isaac and Rebekah. And they told Esau not to marry those women, but he did not obey and married them anyways. Now, Jacob listened to his mother and father, and he married of his kin out of the blessings of God, out of the ones that he was told to marry. So after Esau's birthright and his blessings were stolen, he left his mom and dad, and guess where he went? He went to go spend some time and live with his uncle. And who is his uncle? Ishmael. That was the firstborn of Abraham, Hagar. So now Ishmael and Esau were kin to each other. So they would spend time together. And guess what Esau talked to Ishmael about? That my brother stole my birthright. Well, so it says, well, Isaac stole my birthright. And so, even though at one point Jacob and Esau mended, but there's always been the hostility. Remember that he will live by the sword, and that you will always be basically your younger brother will always be a master of you. But that Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's blessings, that you will have kings, that you will feed the fatness, the wines, the blessings. Did you know that Canaan, or where Israel is today, is one of the most fruitful grounds in the entire world? This is such a blessing, the land there. It literally flows milk and honey. And Jacob's, later on, God changes his name from Jacob, just like Abraham. God changed it because he was known as Jacob, deceiver, or surplanter, or deceiver. That God at one point says, now I'm going to change your name. And your name will no longer be Jacob, but it will be Israel. And that's where the land of Israel comes from. And Jacob had what? 12 sons. And those are the 12 tribes of Israel. And they all came from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, which is Israel. And this is where all the Jewish people come from to this day. Now, the Muslim or Arab or Palestinian people, also known as like the Ottoman Empire at that time, I think even before Christ, the Ottoman Empire, those were like the Arabs. Those were from Ishmael and Esau's kin. Wild, worshiping other gods, marrying who they would want. And guess what? Your sword will always be against your brother, basically. And so there's always been, so Ishmael and Esau, their patriarch of their family is who? Abraham. And for the Jewish people, the patriarch is who? Abraham. So God, even to this day, has blessed the Palestinians, the Arabs, which also is the Hamas, and also has blessed the Jewish people. But the devil always knew that the Son of God will come through the line of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. David, the son of, would be Jesus one day would come from. That's why throughout the entire time, Satan has always tried to destroy Israel. That's why in World War II, Hitler